Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
Enemy at the Gates.
Very good movie.
Best sex scene in the history of movies.
Ew, no, man, that was
Yes.
kind of
Oh, yeah.
weird.
See, that's why it's the best, I think.
Yeah, no,
It is. It's kind of
like it is special.
It is.
but
Yeah, yeah.
It is very uncomfortable to watch.
Rick.
Guys,
Go us through a play-by.
I own that movie because of that.
Oh my god.
It is,
Yeah.
It is just like, because it's during wartime.
I saw that in the theater.
There ain't no love to be had on the war.
Yeah, it's like in the bunker and shit.
Yeah.
A bunch of soldiers lined up.
all lined up.
They're all Russian, so
they're all
they're all like emaciated and dirty, and life is shit. And there's some women down there. Jude Law becomes a celebrity sniper.
Yes.
Through the power of media relations, and Joseph Fiennes, and so he's like the big dick of the movie.
Yeah.
And the chick, she sneaks in. He's like sleeping in the middle of this line of dudes.
Yeah.
She sneaks in, gets next to him, and the thing that's like really naughty and like really gross is she's like undoing his pants, and you see her hand go down in his pants, and her hand is like filthy dirty.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
It's like,
That's what makes it the best.
it's kind of gross, but it don't stop that.
There
They
is
like each
no
other.
buts. It's gross.
No, it's awesome. But it's like they have to keep quiet. Oh,
Yeah, a dude walks by.
like, yeah. They have to,
Doesn't notice.
Stop moving. He's like, he just walks past him, stands at the end of the hall, smoking a cigarette, and they keep going.
What I like about that movie is everyone uses their regular accents.
Yeah.
And nobody, like Ed Harris plays the German sniper, the Nazi.
Yeah.
Badass role. And
Yeah, man.
he doesn't use any contractions in his dialogue. And like he puts all the, whatever that regional dialect, wherever he's from, he's speaking very like dictionary.
Yes.
But he's just using his accent. It's just Ed Harris.
Yes.
Saying the words. It doesn't matter, like if he tried to do a German accent, it would be so dumb.
Like a bad accent can ruin a movie. This
Yeah.
just didn't even address it.
Yeah. And let's see. God bless him. Bob Hoskins as the Russian platoon leader or something. And like he says his name, he's like, "My name is Sasha Nikolai Ostrolyashkov." And then the rest of his lines, he's talking like Bob Hoskins. But yeah, Enemy at the Gates.
We don't need this in the papers of our boys pitching their pants. Bob Hoskins. Yes, God bless him.
You're listening to Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore, and he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. If you're listening right now, trust me, you'll like his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so just trust me.
Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome back to the show.
That was Ron. My name's Chris, and also here with us is our sound guy, Rick.
How's the sound, guys?
Smooth.
It's smooth.
So, Bill Paxton.
Oh, God.
God bless him.
Yeah,
61.
I know.
Yeah.
Not always memorable for his lead roles, but whenever he's around, he makes life better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And,
Any movie with him in it is better because of it.
Yeah. Everyone talks about his best movie being A Simple Plan, and I've never even seen that one.
Yeah,
But
me
I've
neither.
heard about it. It's him and Billy Bob Thornton, and Sam Raimi made it. But yeah, I got to check that out.
So what's your favorite Bill Paxton movie?
I don't know how to judge it. The one that he was the best in, or the one that was the best movie? I'm not sure.
Just his performance. Like, everybody loves Aliens.
Yeah, he was great in that.
It's probably his best performance to me.
He coined that, game over, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's his. He owns that.
That is his.
He does have, he is pure gold in True Lies.
Oh, man.
Remember that? And he gets to bounce off Arnold.
Yeah.
Like, Ugh, even the little dream sequences and they're riding in that fast sports car.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, she's got an ass like a 10-year-old boy. Like, oh my God. I was a kid watching that and just like didn't get it.
Yeah. It's just like,
And like
geez.
watching it now, he's like, oh gee, oh my God.
I know. Would a spy pee himself?
Private Cage here is a deserter.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
So good in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yep.
Live, Die, Repeat. Shit.
So good in everything, man.
Yeah.
He had that polygamy show, Big Love, Frailty.
Yeah. That was one of our recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Joined the MCU for a while. Not a lot of people know that, but he was a big role on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little while.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Near Dark.
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, me neither, man. Fucking great, though. You know, they're vampires, and they're in some bar, and he ends up killing some dude and then drinking his blood. And he just, like, comes up from the guy's neck, and his face is just covered in blood, and he's like, I hate it when they ain't been shaved.
You will be missed, Bill.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah, Bill, we love you, buddy.
New Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailer. I'm not watching it.
Good.
Yeah, we made the promise.
Yeah.
I'm not fazed by it.
Yeah, I did actually. I accidentally ran across a spoiler in an article for it where it says that new trailer shows Kurt Russell for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, all right, I remember. We're not watching him. Okay. Stay away from it. It's probably going to be a little difficult for me to avoid it.
Oh, yeah. You
didn't
gotta
see
close your eyes and plug your
Yeah,
ears.
I didn't see it tonight, but I am ready to do that. All right, so I just recently ran across this, but it turns out that back in February, I guess on the 14th, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the band Nickelback had a little tit for tat over Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, Arnold, he's not governor anymore, but he's still very politically minded. He's always tweeting about politics. And it's just a little funny exchange that they had. So I'm going to have Rick read the Arnold quotes.
Okay. All right.
And I'll read the Nickelback ones.
When Congress is less popular than herpes and Nickelback, how do 97% of them get reelected? Gerrymandering.
And then Nickelback says, big fans. Approval rate this. Batman and Robin. Please leave us out of your future wisdom drops. Dankeschön, Herr Governator.
At Nickelback, that's ice cold. I hope we can agree to put a freeze on gerrymandering, guys. Thanks for the reply.
And then Nickelback wrote back, at Schwarzenegger, well played, sir. Hashtag respect.
Oh, shit. You gonna jump in there?
That's super old.
Okay.
Gotta put a freeze. I have a recommendation.
All right, shoot.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's actually like, oh God. I remember seeing that in the movie theater and it being such a trip.
Uh-huh.
Because Arnold Schwarzenegger is an action hero. It's about a kid who loves all these action movies. Mm-hmm. About, what's his name? Slater. Arnold he plays Slater, in the movies.
Mm-hmm. Came out at the perfect time, too, to be, like, self-referential.
Uh-huh.
Like, we got so excited about it.
Oh, yeah, man. And they actually made this giant blow-up Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, to put up in Times Square.
Uh-huh.
And he was holding, like, a gun and some sticks of dynamite. And then they were like, it's too violent. So they had to, like, take it down and then replace the weapons with, like, his badge.
Yeah.
I want to buy that thing. Put it up in my front lawn on Christmas.
Well, it's a pretty damn good movie.
But he's holding the Turbo Man doll.
The kid who loves these movies, goes and finds himself a golden ticket.
Yeah.
He's got a golden ticket. And he makes his way into the films.
Yeah, he goes through the screen.
Yeah.
And he's in the movie.
And meets the last action hero.
Yeah.
I sound Russian. And what is that guy's name from Alien 3? The Doctor.
The dude from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite.
Underworld.
Yeah. He's got the creepy eye.
Oh, yeah. Got to catch the red eye.
Yeah.
For some reason, that movie bombed.
I know.
It's like,
It's bullshit.
it's one of the biggest bombs.
I
In terms of how
know.
much money they spent. And I learned that it started out very smart. And like it wasn't an action movie.
Uh-huh.
And it was R-rated.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's where the problems happen.
Yeah, probably.
So go ahead and check out 1993's Last Action Hero.
Hell yeah.
All right, Logan.
Who?
Logan. Only about a third of this stuff actually happened. Is that a good part of that movie?
It was okay. It was. It actually did have to do with the story of,
Oh,
of
really?
the movie, yeah.
He has to like look up a bad guy's weakness
No, man.
in the comic. Okay.
Damn, you got no faith whatsoever. And that's okay because, the X-Men movies have always been bad. So why would... I almost didn't even want to give this movie a chance.
Uh-huh.
I kind of wanted to do a Bill Paxton movie, just to tribute.
Yeah. I saw such good reviews for it, though.
Yeah, no. And they were right. It's good.
Yeah.
It's no 100%.
This is the hungover show.
Yeah, not having any Fireball during this episode because we drank it all last night. A good time was had by all, though.
Yes.
All right, let's do it, Logan.
Rick, I'm surprised you didn't want to go see this movie. This was supposed to be like... Remember, they were hyping this like, it's the end of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He's closing it out. He's going to retire. And then blow his brains out.
He's not going to blow his brains out.
All right, so we open up with this figure walking down the city street. And he's wearing a hood. And we're walking along behind him, and he hears a couple of guys in an alleyway starting to get into a fight. Like one of them's being mugged. So then we see that he pulls one of his earbuds out that he was listening to. And out of it we can hear coming, "Just call me Angel of the Morning." And then he pulls his hood off, and it's Ryan Reynolds all scarred up. It's Deadpool. And he's looking, and he sees this guy getting mugged. And he's like, "Oh, shit. All right. Okay. What do I do? All right. Somebody needs to do something. Okay, fine." And then he just runs, and he jumps into a telephone booth, and he starts taking off all of his clothes and then reaching into his duffel bag and pulling out his Deadpool suit. And this is going on, and we hear the Superman music while he's changing his suit. But it takes him like 3 minutes to change into his suit because he's doing it at human speed, and he's like trying really hard to go fast.
Yeah.
And like his butt like goes up against the window, and the windows are all like foggy because it's filthy.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's changing, and you hear this guy getting mugged, and he's like, "Come on, there's got to be somebody here who can do something about this." And like he's like going faster. Okay. And the camera is just outside the phone booth. You don't actually see him.
Yeah.
You just see him like boom, 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 just like trying really fast. Okay. And he opens up the door, and it's Deadpool. He's in his suit, and then you hear this big
Shit.
and then he just like turns his head like, "Oh shit." And then he runs over, and the guy is shot and dead, and the bad guy is gone. And he's like, "Oh man, God." And he was like, "Man, I'm so sorry. If only I could have done it faster, but I mean, what are we all really thinking about here? Like the real question here is, why is there a phone booth on a city street? Like, didn't those disappear in like 98? And he like lays down on the dude. Like he lays on the street and like rests his head on the dead body. And the guy had like some groceries that had spilled out. And he's like, "Ooh, Cherry Garcia ice cream. You're not going to eat this, are you? And the guy is just dead. And then on the screen it says, coming soon, Deadpool 2. It's a fucking preview. But it totally played out like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And like in the alleyway, there was like a poster for the movie Logan. And Heather had told me later that he walked by a movie theater that was playing Logan. So now the real movie starts.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool. And everybody, because I went to see this with Heather and then a couple other people, and everybody thought it was the beginning of Logan.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, Deadpool's in this. All right, cool. All right, so it begins, and we hear some hip-hop music playing. And Logan wakes up, and it's like, oh, Hugh Jackman. His great big bushy beard. And he's like in the back of a car. So he comes to, and he gets out to look at what's going on, and there are some gang members that have obviously mugged him, jacked his car, and they're going to steal the rims off of it, okay? And they're like nice chrome rims. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, guys, and he's still like kind of punch drunk, and they just turn around, and he's like, listen, those are chrome lugs, okay? So you're going to scratch them. All right, nobody's going to want to be driven around, and then the guy just shoots him. And he like falls over dead. And then the movie's over. It's the end of Logan.
Fuck yeah. That's 100%.
Yeah. So then he gets back up, and they're all like going back to stealing his rims. And the camera pans back, and we see that it is a limousine. Uh-huh. It's a nice one. And he's wearing a suit. He's the chauffeur of this limousine.
Yeah.
And he's like, guys, for real, stop what you're doing, okay? So then they all want to fight him. And he's like, all right, screw it. And then he shoots his claws out. And one of them, like one blade on his like left hand, doesn't come out all the way. Like it's stuck.
Yeah.
And he like looks at it for a second like, oh, man. And then he just starts stabbing all of these assholes in the face. He's cutting off their hands and shit. And it's like, oh, okay. It's an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
We are going to beat you in the face with this. It begins immediately with like, ultra violence.
Yeah.
So when he was doing that, I was just like, Jesus, a little obvious here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he, when they were pulling out guns, he was like, no, not the car. And he like jumped in the path of the bullets so that they wouldn't shoot the car. And then at one point, some guy pulled out a 12 gauge and then shot, and it went into the door. And that's when he got really mad and killed everybody.
Yeah.
So then he's in some public restroom, and it's all dirty and filthy, and he's like, got no shirt on, and he's leaning over the sink, and he's like, pushing the bullets out. And they're all going tink, tink into the sink.
Yeah.
Tink, tink, in the sink. Tweet, tweet on the street. So then we get a little sequence of him picking up people and giving them rides. It's like graduation parties and crap like that. And he's just like driving like, my life sucks.
Yeah.
This is my life now. And on the radio, this guy's like, it's 2029. You know, why are we still talking about mutants, you know? They're gone. So there's no more mutants.
Oh.
So he's at a funeral. He's like waiting, and it's raining. He's waiting for people to get done. And then this Mexican lady comes up to him, and she's like, excuse me, hey, are you Wolverine? And he looks, and he's like, oh, shit. Like somebody recognized me. He's like, get away from me, lady. And she ends up driving away. And when she does, we see there's this little girl in the back seat, like looking at him. Mm-hmm. So then he's at a hospital, and he's outside like the ER, and there's like an orderly or a male nurse or something, and he buys some medication, like
illegally.
He goes and he gets back in his limo, and then there's some dude in the back of it who's like the bad guy of the movie. You'll see him on the previews, I guess. And he has, for some reason, a robot hand. And he's like, so, Wolverine's a junkie now. And he's like, who the hell are you? And he's like, well, you know, I'm not really after you. I'm after somebody who's looking for you. You know, Mexican lady, Gabriella. Okay, have you heard from her yet? And he's like, nope, I don't know who you're talking about. He's like, yeah, well, okay, she's looking for you, and, she has something that I want. It's my responsibility. So, here's my card, and, call me. Then the guy's like, hey, I also know what you're doing down there south of the border, okay, with old cue ball. And he's like, no, he's been dead for like a year, okay? He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So then he leaves, and Logan drives to Mexico, goes through the border like he knows the guy. Hey, Sam. And he goes to this old, crappy, rundown building in the middle of the desert with a fallen over water tank. Like a city water tank.
Yeah.
So he goes into this derelict farm building, and there's this albino guy there who's like, yeah, it's been a really rough night. I was taking care of him. It's your turn now. So this guy's like the caretaker of Professor X that Logan has hidden in Mexico. Because he's like wanted. Because he's the most powerful mutant that ever existed.
Yeah.
We learned that his brain is classified as like a weapon of mass destruction by the NSA.
Oh.
So in order to try to hide his mental pulses that people can detect, they have him inside the water tank. And Logan like keeps him locked in there and keeps him drugged.
Oh.
And the guy's like, yeah, he's he's always ranting and raving, and you can like hear him in the background like talking and saying weird shit.
Yeah.
Just like talking to himself. And he's like, he says that he was communicating with somebody. Yeah, no, it's all bullshit. He's not communicating with anybody. There's no more mutants. He's like, I don't know. He's got weird details, man. And this albino, his mutant power is smelling stuff. He's like a human bloodhound.
Mm-hmm.
So Logan's like, yeah, just don't even pay attention. He's going crazy. So then he goes in to see Professor X, who is like riding around inside of this tank, in his electric wheelchair, just like ranting and raving to nobody. And it's weird, man. And him and Logan start talking, and like every third word out of their mouths is fuck. Logan walks up to him, and X is like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, you know who I am, come on. And he's like giving him an injection. He's like, I don't want it. And he like tries to get away from him. And then Logan's like, come on, damn it. And he's like, fuck you, Logan. He's like, oh, you know who I am now, don't you? He's like, I always know. Screw you. I just don't recognize you anymore.
Mm.
So life sucks for the X-Men now. They're all in hiding. And the whole thing with him being a limo driver is he is saving up like $80,000 so he can buy this like boat, and then they can just escape and just live on the sea.
Yeah.
And the albino has a conversation with Logan where he's like, yeah, I found out that you're saving up for a boat, but, the sun burns me, so screw you. What am I supposed to live in the bottom of the boat? He's like, oh, also, I found this in your stuff. And he holds up this bullet that looks all silver, and he smells it, and he's like, adamantium?
Mm.
And Logan's like, get out of my stuff. He's like, well, before you blow your brains out, can you make sure the rest of us are okay? And right then, Professor X has like this mental seizure, and everything just goes like, wah! And both Logan and the albino are like frozen, like their brains are getting all scrambled. Okay, so Logan has to like, it's weird. It's like he's fighting gravity. He has to walk really slow and get to Professor X and give him this special injection that makes him pass out. It makes all of that shit stop.
Yeah.
And the albino's like, yeah, man, that sucked. Okay. I can also, that's the whole point of keeping him drugged, so he doesn't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And the albino can also smell that Logan is sick. He's like, something's wrong with you, man.
Oh.
Like, you're dying.
Jeez.
And Logan's like, nah, it's fine. Whatever, it's fine. So then Logan leaves and he goes back to work, and then we just get this awesome sequence of him giving a bachelorette party a ride, and then it's tits.
All right.
And Bachelorette's like, hey, driver. Logan looks in a mirror, and then she just flashes him her boobs, and he cracks a smile. So then he gets like an Uber alert or something, and he's got a pickup for 2 people, and he drives, and it's some seedy little hotel. And then he sees that same little girl walking around, and then it's the Mexican lady. And he's like, oh, man, lady, leave me alone. You know, the people that are after you, they're after me now, huh? Mm-hmm. So forget that. So she's like, look, we just need a ride, okay? This little girl is special. She's a mutant, and we're trying to get her up to Canada, to a safe place. And I will give you $50,000 for taking us there. Mm-hmm. And then Logan's like, because that's what he needs for the boat. She pulls a wad of $20,000 out of some cabinet and hands it to him. And she's like, you can have 30 more when we get where we're going. He's like, yeah, okay. You know, I'll pick you up tonight or whatever. He goes back home to Mexico, tells them, Professor X and the albino guy, whose name is Caliban, I think, well, get ready because we're about to leave. Everything's going to be fine. So then he goes back to pick them up and finds no girl there, and the lady is dead. And he's like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. So he reaches into the cabinet where she pulled the money out to look for more, and he finds her cell phone. So then he just takes it and leaves and goes back home. When he gets out of the limo, his trunk is open, and in the trunk is like a kid's backpack and then like a bouncy ball. And the albino picks it up, and he's smelling it, and he's like, hey, whose is this? And then this evil black SUV drives up, or a truck or something. And it's that bad guy from earlier. So he's like, yeah, hey, you got my girl. So, you know, what's going on here? And Logan's like, I'm telling you, I don't know her. He's like, yeah, so where are you keeping Professor X? Is he in there? And points at the tank. And he's like, I'd really like to meet him. You know, his brain is a weapon of mass destruction. He's like, I told you he's been dead for a year. And then all of a sudden you hear this little girl go, rah! And then the bad guy just gets hit in the back of the head with a pipe that she threw from like 50 feet away. And he gets knocked out. And then Logan looks up and sees her for the first time and catches the next pipe that she was throwing at him. So they take her inside, and they're feeding her cereal and stuff, and Professor X is riding around. He's like, this is the girl I've been talking to. You know, hey, everybody meet Laura. Laura, she's so awesome, okay? Then Logan grabs her backpack, and he's like, I want to find out why they want you. What's going on here? And she grabs the backpack, and they fight over it, and he cannot pull it out of her hands. So she's like really strong. Then Logan says to the albino, he's like, well, take the guy's body and go dump it out in the desert or something, and then text me when you're on your way back. He's like, well, what if he wakes up before I get there? And Logan just kicks the guy in the head again. So the guy goes out, and he dumps him, and he's about to get back in the truck, and he turns around, the guy's gone, and he's got a gun pointed at him from behind him. And then all of his buddies are coming to help him out, so they take the albino prisoner. Now they all go back to the farmhouse to go and get the girl. Logan grabs Professor X and throws him into the limo and starts to try to drive away. X is like, wait, what about Laura? He's like, that's not our problem, man. Let him have her.
Yeah.
So then they stop him, and the bad guy looks in. He's like, hey, Professor X, it's you. You know, America's most wanted octogenarian. And he's like, I'm a nonagenarian, actually. Wolverine tries to put up a fight, and they just beat him down. Also, during his limo rides, he was, like, drinking.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time. So he's like, not in the best shape anymore. Then they send a team in to the building to go and get the little girl, and all you hear is screams and gunshots. And then she just comes walking out with some dude's head in her arms.
Yeah.
And then she rolls it at the bad guy. And then everybody, all of his security guys are going to get her, and he's like, no, wait a minute. Because like, he knows what she can do. So he starts walking up to her, and he's like, hey, Laura. Hey, girl. What's going on, you know? And she's just like, and she holds up her fists. And then her claws come out. Mm-hmm. Now, she doesn't have 3 on each hand. She's only got 2. And the guy immediately is scared. And he just goes, okay, no, Laura, no. And she's like, and she starts walking towards him, and he just backs the hell up. Like he knows she is like a whirlwind of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just starts laying waste to all of these guys. She's killing them left and right, ripping throats, cutting off hands. And you know that this bad guy with the robot hand has dealt with her before because he knows her. And you see her cutting off everybody's arms. And you're like, oh, that's why he's got a robot hand. Later on, you see that a bunch of his other members of his team have robot hands too.
Yeah.
So, you know, whoever they work for just replaces them. It's fine. So they get into this huge fight. Logan starts helping her out. But at one point, they're dragging her away. They get a hold of her somehow, and they're dragging her away. And then out of her foot comes another blade, like right out the front.
Oh, wow.
And you see her like trailing it in the dirt as she's leaving or being pulled away. And then she just does some spin flippy shit. And she is cutting jugulars like a velociraptor. And she just whips around like Yoda.
Yeah.
Okay? And just blood sprays everywhere. Everybody dies who fights this little girl.
Uh-huh.
They all end up getting into the limo, and they try to escape. And Logan's like, driving at full speed towards the fence of their little farm or whatever. And he hits the fence, and the limo does not go through it. It stops the car. Like, it almost does. You know, the fence, like, bends down.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. And then he's like, oh, shit. So he's, like, backing it up, and now he's caught on the fence. So he has to, like, you know, rev it really hard, and he ends up dragging a bunch of the fence away from it with him.
Yeah.
Some other dude, like, jumps onto the fence, and he's, like, dragging along with him, and he's trying to shoot Logan through the windshield, and then, you know, he drifts the car, and this guy just slams into some wall and is just instantly dead. So anyway, he makes it out, and all these guys are chasing him, and he's driving along a train track, and there's a train coming. So he's like, it's cool. I'll just whip over, and they'll be on the other side when the train passes. But he doesn't do it until, like, the last possible second. And, yep, some dude who was following him gets hit by the train.
Yeah.
And then they're all, like, staring at each other through the train that's passing, and Wolverine just drives away. So Logan is looking at Professor X, and he's like, hey, who the hell is this little girl? And what's going on here? She's a mutant. There are no more mutants. And he's like, come on, man, you know who she is. He's like, no. And he's like, come on, who does she remind you of? So then later he's looking at the lady's cell phone, and he plays a video. In the video, we learned that she worked for this corporation called Transigen, and they were genetically engineering mutant kids from old samples of mutant DNA that they still had. So they had like a little girl who can do freeze power, and then like a little kid with like Storm's powers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, all of their fathers, they were all just test tubes. And Transgen, they were having a hard time keeping control of them. And it shows like kids killing their handlers and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, then they also started working on something else, some top secret project. That was supposed to be even better than this project. And I guess it worked, because all of a sudden they just wanted us to kill all the children. And so me and a couple other people decided to help them escape. So if you're watching this, I'm probably dead. And we're trying to take them to a place called Eden that is safe for mutants. And then the cell phone dies. And Logan is like, what the hell, man? And Professor X is like, they had your DNA at Alkali Lake, man. Laura is your daughter. And he's like, yeah, I get it. That sucks. So he keeps like staring at the little girl, and she's staring at him. And she has never spoken. She's like mute. Except for when she's fighting, then she's like, wah! They stop at a gas station, and Logan and X are fighting. And then Professor X goes, Logan. He's like, you know what? No, enough. I don't want to hear it. Logan. No, I said not now. And then Professor X just goes, I have to pee. Then we get this beautiful sequence of Logan helping Professor X pee. in this shitty gas station bathroom.
Yeah.
And he like has to drag him in. He has to like drop his pants. We don't see that, but we just see their feet.
Uh-huh.
All right. And he like drops his pants and then drags him into the stall and sits him down. And the guy's like, well, I can't go while you're watching. He's like, oh, believe me, I'm not watching. And while that's happening, the little girl is out in the gas station like picking up Pringles, opening them and eating them, popping open sodas and drinking them. She puts on a pair of sunglasses, and then the cashier is like, hey, kid, you got to pay for that stuff, right? And she's just like staring at him, and she tries to leave, and he gets in her way. And he's like, all right, give me the stuff. And then she just grabs this guy and throws him over her shoulder, has him on the floor, and then raises her fist and pulls out her claws. Mm-hmm. And just before she kills this gas station clerk, Logan grabs her hand and just goes, no, that's bad. It's not okay. So he gives all the stuff back to the cashier. He's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about this. And he turns around and he's like, hey, do you sell cell phone chargers? And the guy's like, yeah, right there. And Logan walks over and grabs one and then grabs a whole bunch of cigars and just walks out. So then they drive into Oklahoma City and they go to this casino hotel. And the little girl is looking at this like clothing display. And it's mannequins, but it's a father and daughter, and they're holding hands. And she's like staring at that.
Oh, jeez.
And Logan's like, come on, kid, let's go. And Professor X goes, we need clothes. So then they have to buy clothes. In the elevator, Professor X pulls out this stupid hat. And he like puts it on his head. Like he's enjoying it. The little girl starts pushing all the buttons in the elevator, and Logan is like pulling his fucking hair out because this kid is so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
So now they're in the hotel room, and Professor X is watching this really famous old Western called Shane. You ever heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
The little girl's watching it with him, and he's like, the first time I saw this movie, I was your age, and I saw it at the such and such Cineplex. And he's like, just being an old man talking. We get a little segment of the end of that movie where Shane is telling the little kid, like, go home and tell your mama we won. There's no more guns in the valley, okay? Just before Shane rode off into the sunset, dead.
Yeah.
This is a big famous dialogue from that movie. They make such a point to make you, the audience, watch that. Yeah. It's going to matter later. Mm-hmm. So Logan's like, all right, I got to go out and do some shit. So here, there's 2 pills, all right? He keeps giving Professor X pills to take to keep him drugged and not a fucking crazy psychic.
Yeah. And
he's like, give him 2 more pills in 1 hour. And she just nods okay, and then he leaves. And he's off selling the limo to some, like, chop shop.
Uh-huh.
And he goes to get his stuff out of the back, and in the seat, he sees 2 blue pills that obviously were not swallowed by Professor X earlier. And he just looks up and he's like, shit. So he takes the money and goes to buy another truck, and the lady's like, all right, $8,000, and I'll even throw on some new tires. And he's like, I'll give you $10,000 if we don't do the paperwork. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, but you're still going to need tires. Well, how long is that going to take? 1 hour. So then he goes and spends the hour in a bar, and then he opens up the girl's backpack and finds X-Men comic books.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, oh, yeah, great. And he's like flipping through them, and he sees this one part where all the mutants are going to a safe place called Eden. And he's like, oh, shit. And then in the comic book, they put the coordinates of where Eden is, and then he pulls out the paper of where the lady wanted him to take the girl, and it's the same thing.
Oh.
And he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh, man. So he goes back to the hotel. As he pulls up to the front of it, Professor X has a seizure. And everybody within like 2 square miles is like, sees everybody in the casino, cars driving by start crashing. Uh-huh. Everybody's like grabbing their heads and just like writhing in pain. Mm-hmm. And then he has to fight his way up. He has to fight the psychic onslaught and go upstairs. And he goes into the hallway for their hotel room, and he sees armed guards in there. Some of them have robot hands. And he's just like, in order to keep himself up, he had shot his blades out and he's like stabbing them into the wall to like hold himself up. He's coming down the hallway towards this dude who is also frozen and pointing his gun into the hotel room. And then only that guy's eyes move towards Logan, like he can't move his body. And then Logan just comes up and just stabs him through his brain. Then he walks into the room. There's all these other guards in there. And his daughter is on the floor, and she's also able to move around, you know, to kind of fight it. She's crawling towards Professor X, who is just sitting in his chair with like 3 dudes pointing guns at him. And that was when he had his seizure.
Okay.
So Logan just like walks up and just kills everybody in the room.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. He's still like having to fight it, you know? And then he has to give this injection to him to make it stop. Once that happens, everybody just falls down like, oh, God. And everybody's hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Ambulances come and Logan and the gang have to escape.
Is the albino guy still around?
No. I'm glad you brought that up. When he was dumping the bad guy's body, the bad guy whose name I never really learned.
Yeah.
Okay? When he was dumping his body, then that guy got the jump on him, and all of his buddies came to help him. They took the albino prisoner.
Yeah.
And that guy had said to him, so I know you're like a human truffle pig, okay? And you used to actually work for my company, and you would find mutants for them. And he's like, well, yeah, you know, I guess. He's like, well, now you're going to work for me, or you're going to die. And the guy's like, oh, fine. And they keep him in a cage, like in a truck.
Okay.
And he's the one who has to go and find him. Like, they also ended up at the gas station that they were at.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk in, and the cashier is like, hey, I already told the police everything, you guys. And they're like, yeah, it's cool. We just want to talk to you for a second. And then from outside the gas station, you just hear the guy start screaming.
Yeah.
I don't know why they needed to kill him or hurt him. And at one point, they brought in this, like, scientist, the guy who was in charge of making the kids. And he's talking to the albino, and he's like, yeah, so this bad guy with the robot hand, he says that, you know, he thinks you're holding back in order to keep them a step ahead of us. Okay, so I'm here to, like, I don't know, brainwash you more or something. Anyway, he was gonna like, so he's gonna force him to find him somehow. It's not really made clear.
Yeah.
Now, when Wolverine got back to the hotel, he was like, yeah, look at this. Look what I found. She's got these comic books, okay? And look in here. This is the coordinates of where I'm supposed to be taking her. It's all fake.
Yeah.
You know? It's phony. It's not real. And then the girl's like grabbing her comics out of his hand. And Professor X is like, it's real to her, Logan. Like, I don't know where we're going to end up, but we're doing this for her, for your daughter. And he's like showing the girl, look, these are the names of the people that made this crap up. I'm telling you, only like 1/3 of the crap in these comic books ever even happened. And the rest is just made up shit. You know? He's like, I hate these stupid things. But apparently to the girl and the kids, they were like the Bibles,
Yeah.
you know, of their origins. So they escape the hotel, and we hear some news on the radio where they're talking about what just happened in Oklahoma City. And they're like, yeah, you know, it's very reminiscent of what happened 6 years ago. And, you know, all these people died, and including 6 mutants, you know, that were also members of the... and then Logan turns the radio off.
Mm-hmm.
So, members of the X-Men,
Yeah.
you know, he turned it off so that Professor X couldn't hear it.
Mm.
So remember, we are in the year 2029. It is the future.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And we get this weird thing that happens. Actually, one of the more interesting little details in this movie is that now 18-wheeler trucks on the highway are no longer driven by humans.
Oh,
There is not even a truck pulling them. It's just the shipping containers and wheels underneath them, and they just speed down the highway. Like by themselves. And when they change lanes, like it goes like beep, 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 beep. So they're driving down the highway, and they pass this truck who's hauling a horse trailer. And then right then, one of those 18-wheeler robots just beep, beep, changes lanes and runs the horse trailer off of the road. and it screws up Logan somehow, and he ends up spinning out. And then the family hauling the horses are out trying to get all their horses back in the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Because they all escaped. Professor X is like, we should help them, Logan. We should help them. And he's like, somebody will come along. And then X goes, somebody has come along. And Logan's like, ugh. So he gets out to go help round up horses.
Yeah.
And then Professor X starts to do psychic stuff. And then all the horses just calmly walk back to the trailer. And everybody's like, what's going on? What's going on? Logan looks back at him, and then Professor X just winks at him. Now, after they escape the hotel, X was like, I did that on purpose. Because Logan was like, why aren't you taking your pills, man? He's like, well, I had to be able to protect her. He's like, I did that on purpose. He's like, you did not do that on purpose, man. You freaked out because they were about to kill you, and that's what did it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm still useful. Because Professor X is so, he's played so pathetically in this movie. It's just how the mighty have fallen. Mm-hmm. It's a big theme here. So this family of farmers, horse farmers, I don't know, they're like, yeah, thank you so much for your help, Is that your daughter over there? Yeah, that's my dad, Chuck. I'm like, well, can we give you a meal for helping us? Professor X is like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it. Uh-huh. So they go back and they have dinner with him. The kid, Laura, eats like a fucking pig. With no manners whatsoever. And Logan has to, give her a fork and stop her from eating so much corn. And it's all, embarrassing. Yeah. And the kid, because the family is just, two parents and a son. And the son just keeps staring at her man, what's up with you?
Keep her from eating so much corn.
She was, shoveling all this corn onto her plate. It was weird. So they get done, and they're like, yeah, what are you going to do now? Well, we'll drive on and find a hotel. Well, the next one isn't for Miles. Why don't you guys stay here? He's like, no, that's okay. And Professor X is like, that would be wonderful. So Logan's like, all right. It's bad. He doesn't want to do this. It's too risky.
Yeah.
Professor X hurts people. Okay, so they're going to stay the night, and the water in the house stops working. We find out from the farmer man that the pump station is a few miles down the road. He has to go fix it. And the reason why it's going out is because he's getting terrorized by this Monsanto-type corporation that bought up all the farms in the area, but he's the only one who wouldn't sell. Mm-hmm. So now they're trying to muscle him out of his land and force him out. Mm-hmm. I think they were called Canewood. I don't know. And he's like, well, it's fine. I'll go by myself. The the guys that do this, they can be pretty rough and dangerous. I'll go deal with it. And Logan's just like, yeah, I'll go. So they drive out to this pump house, and they have to cut through Canewood company fences to get in there. So they're trespassing. And the pump is it's sabotaged, and there's water just spewing out of it. So Logan's got to take off his jacket and get in his old white wife beater. Yeah. And they're turning wrenches and getting stuff done. And then these country guys who work for Canewood, they show up and they're like, you are trespassing. And they're here to they're bullies. The farmer is all scared of them. And they're like, oh, Mr. Munson, you are trespassing, sir. So get on out of there. And he pulls out his shotgun. And then Logan comes walking out. And they're like, who the hell's that? He's like, oh, he's just my friend, And Logan's like, I'm the guy who's going to kick the shit out of you. The guy's like, oh, he hired some muscle. Okay. And, he threatens him some more. And then Logan just grabs the shotgun out of the dude's hand and breaks his nose with it. And then he breaks the shotgun in half over his knee. And they all run away screaming. So now they're back at the farm. And everybody's in bed. The lights are really dark. And Logan walks into Professor X's bedroom and walks up to him. And he's just standing over him. Professor X starts talking. And he's kind of crying. And he's like, Logan, I got to tell you, man, tonight has just been, I think, the most perfect night I have had in so long. Because he was saying to Logan earlier, before he went to the pump house, he was like, hey, this is what a family is like. This is what real life is like for people. You should take a minute and, feel it. Uh-huh. Logan was like, yeah, I get it. Whatever. Yeah, be a parent.
Yeah.
So X is like, oh, this has been such a wonderful night. I just couldn't ask for anything better. It's just amazing. So he starts crying, and he's like, I know what I did, Logan. I remember. I remember now. And how he's like, they still don't say exactly what he did, but we know that he killed all of the X-Men somehow with his mental seizures.
Oh, jeez.
And he's like, I know you've been keeping me drugged so I don't remember it. And it's just horrible. I can't even believe it. And then Logan just shoots his blades out of his hand and stabs Professor X right in the chest with it. Murders him. And you're like, what the fuck? It's got to be a dream.
Yeah.
And then we get a clearer shot of Logan, and it's super young Logan from the first time we ever saw him.
Yeah.
And then he leaves Professor X dead or not dead, but bleeding and dying. And he hog ties the little girl and is walking out of the house. And the rest of the family, the kid and the mom, are coming to help, and he fucking kills them.
Uh-huh.
And he's walking down the stairs, and now old Logan is coming into the house from the pump house, just getting home.
Yeah.
And he hears all the screaming and everything, and then he sees this guy walking down the stairs, holding the little girl, and then they come face to face, and young Logan, who is obviously a clone, who is obviously also the secret project that Transgen abandoned the kid project for.
Uh-huh.
They were like, screw it, let's just clone Wolverine. We'll just make more of him.
Well, shit.
So Logan is just fucking staring at this guy. What the fuck?
Is it Hugh Jackman?
It is Hugh Jackman. And it's young Hugh Jackman. And he's looking at old Logan. And he, in the biggest insult ever, he just goes around him and walks out of the house. He's like, you are not even worth fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the old Logan is just dumbstruck. He's just still standing there.
Jesus.
So then he realizes what must have just happened, and he's like, Charles! And he runs upstairs. He finds Charles dying. So he's dragging him out of the house. Then the clone stabs the family dad.
Uh-huh.
It's just man, he just murdered all the family. This sucks.
Yeah.
So the clone walks outside with the little girl, and he's walking towards the truck that has the albino in it and the scientist that somehow forced the albino to find him better.
Uh-huh.
And then the Canewood country bumpkins, they got friends now, and they're coming to the farmhouse to go take care of that old dude who broke his nose.
Yeah.
And they find the clone. They're like, that's him. So they all start bowing up on him, and he just drops the little girl and just starts murdering all of them.
Yeah.
And just complete evisceration, and he's going crazy. Okay? Violence is what he does. The clone also does not talk. So while the clone is making heads fly, Logan has Professor X in his arms, and he's taking him out the back of the house, and he puts him in the bed of their truck. And he lays him down, and Professor X is crying and dying. And he says some last words to Logan. I don't really remember what they were. And then he just fucking dies in his arms.
No.
Yeah, man. And at that moment, Caliban, who is locked in his cage inside the truck, he's watching that one bad guy. I better go out and get the clone. Okay? he's going crazy. He's murdering people. Caliban reaches through the bars of his cage and picks up a couple of hand grenades. Then the bad guy looks back at him, and Caliban's like, oh yeah, he holds him up and he pulls the pins, and he's just beware of the light. And then he throws these grenades down into the center of the truck. So the truck blows up, but the bad guy just flies out of it in front of the explosion. It only killed some other nameless bad guy and then Caliban himself. Yeah, he was like, I'd rather be dead than let Logan save me. So then Logan goes and he fights the clone. and it's pretty bad and badass and tough. Okay, and they're stabbing each other in the chest like 1,000,000 times. The clone also has the healing ability.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out the dad wasn't dead, and he comes out with a shotgun, and he helps Logan, and he shoots the clone in the head. And then he's looking at Logan, and he points the shotgun at him. Like, my family is dead because of you, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Logan's just standing there like, all right, go ahead. And then the guy pulls the trigger, but it just clicks empty.
Oh.
Like, yeah, he tried to kill Logan.
Yeah.
And then he just falls over dead. So Logan and the little girl drive down the road, and now it's the next morning, and they're in some, like, forest, and they are burying Professor X, and it is sad, man. Oh. So they bury him, and Logan starts saying, like, it's a good place. There's water, and then his voice chokes.
Uh-huh.
And then he starts like tearing up and crying and stuff. And then he tries again. He's like, there's water and and we just get like a good 5 or 6 seconds of him like losing it.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Before he just like throws the shovel and just storms off to the truck. He doesn't throw it. He actually took it with him because he starts beating the truck with the shovel. And he's just like, God damn it. And he's like denting the hell out of everything on the truck with it. The little girl's just watching. And then I guess Logan collapses or something because he wakes up in a hospital bed. And there's like an IV over him. And this doctor walks in and he's like, oh, man, I am so glad you're awake. Because, man, I really didn't want to tell this little girl that her dad was dead. But check it out, man. Something is really wrong with you. I mean, I get that you're a mutant. Like, I could tell that already. But something in you is poisoning you. Okay, now I want you to go to the hospital and get some tests done. And Logan just like gets up, and his shirt was off, and you see all of these like fucking big huge claw marks, like big open bloody wounds that are not healing.
Oh.
And the guy's like, dude, something is poisoning you. We need to find out what that is. And Logan's just like, I know what it is. He's like, thanks, I'm leaving. And he just leaves. So we know from Caliban earlier, smelling sickness on Logan. And now this doctor saying, something in you is poisoning you, man. And Logan saying, I know what it is. We're like, oh, he's got adamantium poisoning.
Yeah.
Ever since it was put in his body, now it's finally taking its toll.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's degrading because one of his claws wouldn't come out.
Mm-hmm.
And actually in one of the subsequent fights, he actually just grabs it with his hand and like pulls it all the way out. And you could tell that it hurt.
Yeah.
And it looked like it might have been a little rusty, or but it was covered in blood too, so who knows.
Yeah.
So anyway, apparently Logan is dying of adamantium poisoning. So he gets into the truck with Laura, and he looks at her, he's like, thanks for helping me. And then she just goes, de nada. He's like, what? She's like, you're welcome. He's like, you can talk? You could talk this whole time. And then she just like nods her head yes. And he's like, what the fuck? And then she just starts ranting at him in Spanish. So much so to the point where he just like, all right, shut up. Then they start fighting about, because she's like, I want to go here. I want to go to this place. And he's like, it's not real, okay? This is comic book crap. Uh-huh. None of this stuff even happened. So she doesn't want to believe that it's not real, so she's getting really upset. And then she punches Hugh Jackman right in his face. And it's not like some like action movie punch. It was like a raw father and daughter fighting moment. It was a big deal. She just punches him right in the middle of his face.
Oh.
And it's done in like real close up. And Hugh Jackman is all like red in the face because he's old haggard and he's an alcoholic and he's just in shitty shape. And she just punched his face. And you could see that he was just like, God damn it. And he just yells at her, don't hit me. It was like a little uncomfortable to watch. So he's like, you know what? Fine. Okay, fine. I'll take you to this mythical place. All right. And you will see that it's not real. So then they're driving and he's like, starting to pass out because she's so fucking weak. And then she like makes him pull over and she's like, let me drive. And now that she's talking, the movie loses something. It's like not as cool now.
Oh.
It was better when she was a mute. She was like a more powerful character to me in the story. So they're driving, and she makes him pull over, and then she makes him get some sleep, and then she starts driving. So then he wakes up, and they are at the place, somewhere, I guess, in North Dakota or something, and all the other kids are there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't look like it did in the comic, which looked all space-agey. It's just, like a ranger station. Mm-hmm. But all of the other mutant kids are there, and they start nursing him back to health. Now, back when the clone was shot in the head by the father at the farm, afterwards the scientist came out, and he lays him down, and he starts talking to him, and he's like, look, it's cool. Your body needs to heal, okay? Your body has a lot of work to do. You're not going to die. Now, I'm going to give you this injection of this green crap, and it's going to help you. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to help you heal, okay? Mm-hmm. And the clone Logan is just like laying there, having been shot in the eye, just staring at the scientist with his good eye. So we know the clone's not dead. We're going to have to deal with him later, obviously. Yeah. And while he's passed out, they shave his big bushy beard into the old-style Logan chops. And they are all laughing at how funny he looks, and he gets up and he looks in the mirror and he's like, it's not funny! They had also stolen some of this green healing juice, and they're giving him injections of it. So we find out that in the morning, all the kids are going to leave, and they're going to cross the border into Canada to go off and be at their safe place. And a drone camera flies overhead, so we know there's trouble coming. Yeah. Then Logan and Laura are talking, and he's like, yeah, okay, you got everything you want, all right? You're back with your friends, you're going to go off and live together, and Caliban is dead, Charles is dead, and it's basically all because of you. All right? She's like, well, where are you going to go? Because I want you to be my daddy now. And he's like, I'm not good at this stuff. You just go and do your thing, all right? Everybody's fucking dead now. You just go. And she's all mad at him. So the next morning, Logan wakes up, and there's a big vial of the green stuff, and there's a note that says, don't take it all at once. Mm-hmm. Because he was, they were like, yeah, we're using this to help you. And he was like, this stuff's going to make you go crazy. Turns you into a locomotive murder machine. And they're like, well, yeah, but it's okay, in small doses. I don't know how Logan knew that. Maybe they used it in another one of the movies. I don't know. So they left him some of the green stuff, and they're just gone. They've left. Mm-hmm. So he walks outside, he's looking around, and then a whole bunch of drone cameras fly by. And he's like, uh-oh. And then he looks down at the road and sees a whole bunch of trucks coming in with soldiers. Obviously to go and get these kids. So he grabs his green stuff and he starts running. Now in the woods, the kids are being chased by all these soldiers. And they're like X-Men mutants, okay? And the little girl is like a murder machine. But they're all still just running away from them for a while. And I was like, why don't you just fight them? Why don't you just kill them? And then they started fighting them and killing them. Logan's running after them. He starts killing bad guys too, and then he starts like getting too tired. And he like leans over and he's like, okay, that's it. And then he fills a syringe with all of the green stuff and just jams it all into his neck. At that point, the kids who are like holding their own against all these soldiers, they're using all their powers. This little girl has like Storm's powers, and she's like makes a little tornado of tree bark go around this one bad guy, and then it just eviscerates him into red mist. Like these kids are just killing with impunity. Yeah. And then Laura hears Logan, and then we see that he is just mowing through assholes. Yeah. He's a locomotive now. So then Logan and Laura start killing people together like father and daughter. Eventually, all the other kids get captured except for Laura and Logan. So now they got to go save them. So they split up, and the girl is like hiding so she can let the kids out. But Logan just walks right into the bad guy camp. And then the dude with the robot hand is like, hey, Logan, what's going on, man? I want you to meet this scientist. And the scientist is like, yeah, hey, I know you, Logan. My dad is the one who worked on the Weapon X program. He's the one who put the adamantium in your body.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, oh, okay. And Logan says, like, something rude to him. Then the robot hand guy just says, careful who you're talking to, man. Show him some respect. This is the guy that wiped out the mutants, you know? Cured humanity of it. And then the scientist is like, well, I didn't really wipe it out. You know, instead of getting rid of it totally, we just learned how to control it. So I invented this chemical that would stop all these mutant births that were happening at random in the world. And I put this chemical into corn syrup.
Oh, wow.
That was in all the sugary drinks and all the breakfast cereals.
Jeez.
So all of the mutant births just stopped. So that's why there's no, like, mutants elsewhere in the world. Well, I mean, we know Professor X killed the X-Men somehow, but
yeah,
there's no more because of that.
Uh-huh.
And that's why, like, Canewood wanted all the corn farms and everything. So he's telling Logan how, he's like, yeah, we just decided to just control it, and that way we could just make our own mutants. And then Logan just shoots that guy in the face with a gun that we, the audience, did not know he was holding. And then he shoots at the one-handed dude, and that guy gets away. And then Laura lets all the kids out, who all go after the robot hand dude. Mm-hmm. And then they're all using their powers on him, and they all, like, kill him together. And the way they do that is one of them, like, manipulates the grass blades that he's laying in, and they, like, hold him down. And then, some other kid is, like, electrocuting him, and people are stabbing him. I don't know. But everybody got to help kill him. As a team.
Yeah.
Everybody got to murder him real good. But just before he got caught by the kids, he opens up this other truck door, and he's like, showtime! And then the clone comes out. So while they're killing the bad guy, Logan starts fighting the clone. And it's another, clash of the titans. And they're going at it. And Logan is holding his own, but he's kind of starting to lose it a little bit. And then the leader of the kids just, like, uses his psychic powers, raises the truck up into the air, and drops it on the clone. So then we start to hear the truck move, like the clone's, he's going to be getting out soon. And Logan turns around, he's like, everybody run. You guys just run, man. And, let me back up a bit. Back when they were back at the at their camp, and Laura and Logan were fighting, she holds up the adamantium bullet. She's like, what is this? And he's like, I was going to kill myself with it.
Yeah.
So all the kids run away. The clone gets out and has Logan, and he throws him onto, like, a broken stump, and it stabs through his chest, through Logan. So he's all, like, laying there, like, bleeding, and the clone comes up, and he's about to cut his head off or something like that, and then his head just explodes. And behind him is Laura, who just shot him with the adamantium bullet.
All right, cool.
Then she gets down on her knees next to Logan, and he's like, he's dying. So she's like, no, you can't go. Daddy, no. And then he starts crying, and he's like, so this is what this feels like. And it is fucking heartbreaking, man.
Oh.
And then fucking dies.
Yeah?
Logan dies.
Shit.
At the end of this movie. So then the kids are, they're burying him in a shallow grave of nothing but rocks, which will eventually be kicked over, and people will find the adamantium skeleton.
Yeah.
Which will be worth millions to some hiker. And they have driven a cross into the grave, like made out of sticks. Mm-hmm. So then, just like I predicted, Laura starts reciting the last lines of the movie Shane as his eulogy. And she's like, run home to your mom and tell her that all the bad guys they're dead. There's no more guns in the valley. And then everybody starts walking away. And she comes back, pulls the cross out of the ground, and then sets it down on its side so it's an X. And then the screen goes to black, and it just says, Logan. For the first time. It never did it in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And then, as the credits roll, we hear When the Man Comes Around.
Mm.
And that's it, man. There's no stingers or anything like that. That is the end of Wolverine.
Yeah, right. Not if
So
this movie
far,
makes
anyway.
any money.
I know. But it was good, man.
Yeah. Did it need to be R-rated? Didn't seem like it had to be.
It probably didn't need to be. And all the killing, man, I mean, yeah, they just really beat you over the head with the fact that we can be violent. And guess what? Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was good. It was a good fitting end to Logan, I guess.
Yeah.
The movie was really dark and gritty and very atmospheric. It did make you feel stuff like a few times. There were some pretty sad moments in this film, man.
Yeah. It seemed too sad. Like it tried to take a lesson out of the Deadpool playbook, but it couldn't play with the level of humor
Yeah.
that Deadpool could to balance things out.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think in some ways I like that better. I mean, it was so fucking serious.
you like the seriousness?
I did like it.
Oh, okay.
It made it so much more raw than Deadpool ever could be. Deadpool, funny as hell, full of swearing, full of violence. Perfect movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was no drama that you gave a shit about.
Yeah.
And this movie is like nothing but that.
All right.
So there you have it, Logan on Movies with Ron.
Good job, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Folks, look how far you've made it. You might as well leave a rating and review if you haven't already. If you're using iOS, search Movies with Ron. Go to the page, that middle tab, it says Reviews. Say anything you want. We'll share it on the show.
Hell yeah.
Check us out on Twitter and Instagram, at Movies with Ron. We also got a Facebook group. All right, it's been fun.
All right, love you guys.
Take care.
Movies with Ron.
That was such a good one, man. The whole Aliens crew was back for that one together. Vasquez, Bishop, they were vampires in his same little cabal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember now.
I remember. What's that from?
Fucking Back to the Future, too.
I remember that.